I don't know if God exists. Deeply religious people are certain he exists, he or it. There are ardent atheists who are sure God does not exist. My posture is, particularly in the monotheistic traditions, that God is typically described as being all-knowing, all-powerful, and all good. Yet I look back through history. In particular, there was I can choose many examples, but a famous example is the earthquake in Lisbon, Portugal. When was it? 1755, somewhere around there. 80,000 people died. By the way, that earthquake took place on All Saints' Day, in the morning, when most people, Lisbon, one of the holiest cities in Europe, most people were in church. Churches were the largest structures of the day. If you have an earthquake, what's the first building to collapse? It's the ones that are the largest, the most susceptible. So people died in churches. Then there's a tsunami that basically wiped Lisbon off the map. Either God is not all good, if we define good as being in the interest of your health and longevity, that's a pretty simple definition of something that's good for you, or God is not all powerful. But it's not clear whether God could be both of those at the same time for that event. So I take issue with what many people say God is. But there are other kinds of ways to think about God. There are enlightened religious people who would say God is the manifestation of the laws of physics in the universe. I don't have a problem with that. But is God the person who tells you who you should mate with and on what day you should eat what kind of food and is that your God? That's different from this other one that maybe just sort of put the universe into place. So I don't really concern myself much with it unless someone finds a way that any understanding of God can give me insight into making another discovery. And that hasn't happened yet. There are many people who will see things happen to them that are in their favor. They say, oh, someone's looking over me. So that's a fascinating phenomenon when that happens. And when you analyze those situations, what you find is that we as humans simply have a profound inability to understand statistics and probability. It's really that simple. And it's a quick experiment. Line up 1,000 people and give them a coin and have them flip the coin. And if whoever gets tails, tell them to sit down. So it's about half. So 500 people left. You repeat it, 250 people left. 125, 60, 30, 15, 8, 4, 2, 1. It's a thought experiment. So approximately half the people sat down every time they flipped the coin. Half of them get heads, half get tails. There's one person that's standing at the end. That person flipped heads 10 consecutive times. So who does the press go to? The press goes to that person and say, how do you feel about this? Well, I felt that heads energy about halfway through, and I kind of knew I was going to win. I saw heads on the thing. And did they interview anybody else who might have felt exactly the same way but didn't flip heads 10 times in a row? Because they're on their way home now. They're not there for the interview. So we're thinking that this guy had some kind of clairvoyance about his fate, or that he prayed or whatever. And so, whereas every time you do this experiment, basically, somebody flips heads 10 times in a row. And so we don't know how to handle coincidences or things that are rare for you, even if they're common in total. So, yeah, no, whatever God is not luck. We can demonstrate that mathematically.